Golf Central on YouTube is brought to you by the new Chrome Tour golf ball from Callaway.
The 2026 playing of the Sentry will not be contested at the Plantation Course at Kapalua because of ongoing drought conditions and related challenges on the island of Maui. Maui County has been experiencing significant drought conditions in recent weeks, with over 90% of the region affected and more than 140,000 residents impacted, according to state data. In response, water conservation mandates were implemented to prioritize the needs of the local community. These restrictions directly affected Kapalua Resort, where the tour's agronomy team conducted a site visit in early September. That team concluded the condition of the Plantation Course had been significantly compromised by the drought and water limitations. This statement from the PGA Tour following discussions with the governor's office, as well as leadership from Sentry Insurance, Kapalua Resort in Maui County. The PGA Tour has determined the 2026 playing of the Sentry will not be contested at the Plantation Course at Kapalua due to ongoing drought conditions, water conservation requirements, agronomic conditions, and logistical challenges. Additional event information will be shared when appropriate. And welcome to Golf Central. I am Damon Hack, joined now by Rex Hoggard, Golf Channel senior writer. Rex, the PGA Tour did not say what will happen with the Sentry next year, only that it won't be at Kapalua. What are you hearing about what could happen to the event next year?
Yeah, I'm glad you leaned into that line. Will not be contested at. That was in the press release that the PGA Tour sent out, and the idea being that there's plenty of other options for the tour to play the Sentry, essentially the season open event. The idea being that you could either do it in Hawaii. There's plenty of other golf courses not in Maui that don't have to worry about these restrictions, or even California. One of the options I heard a source bring up was La Costa. It actually hosted the season opening event until it moved to Maui in 1999. However, I have had 3 sources tell me that of all the options the PGA Tour is considering right now, one of them is not playing the event at all, and that's not unprecedented. Go back just a couple years ago during the pandemic, there were events that were canceled. So I think the tour is exhausting all options, but right now they're looking really hard at the idea that it could not be played.
Well, Rex, the Sentry is half of the PGA Tour's Hawaii swing. How could this news potentially affect the Sony Open?
I think historically it could have a real impact because guys would sort of package those two together. It was really easy to go over and play Maui, and there was just a short jump on a flight over to Honolulu for the Sony Open. I think that's changed over the last few years. Last year there was 35 players who made the trip from Maui over to Honolulu for the Sony Open. That's probably going to go down going into the future simply because of the demands on the top players' time now. Right now there are 9 signature events next year on the PGA Tour schedule. You factor in the Players' Championship, the 4 majors, then you look at the playoffs. By that time, a top player pretty much has a schedule going already. So I don't think it's going to have much of an impact. And you also need to keep in mind that even though if Sentry was not to be played, the PGA Tour did add an event to next year's schedule. They're going back to Doral. They're going to play another signature event there. So players would probably make up the difference there more so than not play the Sony Open.
Well, finally, what responsibility does the PGA Tour and the players have to Maui? We've seen the tour really come through in dark times, including earlier this year at Riviera.
Yeah, I think this is what the tour does when they're at their absolute best. And I'm glad you brought up the Genesis Invitational was not played in Los Angeles because of those devastating wildfires in the area. It was moved to Torrey Pines. But you look at what Genesis, the sponsor of that event, ended up donating more than $8 million. The PGA Tour started a foundation called California Rises. All these things to help the community that were devastated. We've seen it time and time again where the PGA Tour steps in and helps out the communities. We actually saw it this year during the Sentry. Go back to what happened last year with the wildfires there in Maui. They stepped in and made donations as well. So I think this is what the tour does best, and I would anticipate whatever happens, if they find another venue, if they don't play it at all, the community in Maui will be supported.
And Rex Hoggard will continue to follow this story as news develops. Elsewhere, Bethpage Black is set to host the 45th edition of the Ryder Cup next week. Europe is the defending champion, but has not won on American soil since Medina 2012. Coverage begins Monday with live from the Ryder Cup, 3 p.m. It will go through Thursday. Then the matches start with Friday morning foursomes on the NBC family of networks. Here's Keegan Bradley's U.S. Ryder Cup team. Scottie Scheffler, the world number 1, expected to carry the torch. Other veterans will include Justin Thomas, Patrick Cantlay, Xander Schauffele. The team will have 4 rookies on it, including U.S. Open champion J.J. Spahn. U.S. must avoid what happened a couple years ago in Rome during the Friday foursomes. Clean sweep for Europe, and Europe returns all 8 players from those foursome matches, so there's a good chance those pairings come up yet again. It'll be Bradley's job to figure out the right combination for the United States. Welcome in Tripp Isenhour now. Good to see you, buddy. Keegan Bradley has plenty of options, but without knowing which player is in which pod, what do you think he should do to avoid a repeat of Friday morning in Rome?
Well, you know what? I guarantee you, Luke Donald, as you said, the pairing that the ones he sent out, I imagine that's going to be his foursomes lineup, and it may not be in that order, but I guarantee you that you're going to see those guys playing together on Friday. So how do you counter that? Well, I think the U.S., again, not knowing which pod is which and who's in which one, I think if you wanted some strong pairings, you got to get a rookie out. You got to get somebody out in that first match, and then you got to get your horses out there. I love throwing Scheffler and DeChambeau together.
Ooh.
I mean, that's a tough out right there. And you throw them out first. First of all, you can put anybody with Scotty in 4-ball. That's not going to matter. In foursomes, you got to be a little more discreet, but still, you've got a lot of leeway as a captain when you're putting somebody with Scotty Scheffler. Okay, now I think Cantlay and Schauffele, they are good friends. They are tough, and I know Xander has not driven the ball as well this year, but he is driving the ball better, and he's doing everything else fine. Cantlay is that guy. I mean, we saw what he did against Rory in singles. And then you throw, I love Justin Thomas and Sam Burns. I really like that combo. Put Justin with a really, really good putter in Sam Burns. I think that would be a great one. And then this one, I know Collin Morikawa is not playing at the top of his game, but you put him with one of the best putters on tour that puts the ball in the fairway, which Russell Henley does repeatedly. There's your rookie. It's hard to call Russell Henley. He's a Ryder Cup rookie. He's played in President's Cups. But you put a guy like him and put Collin Morikawa in the short grass time and time again and do it on the right holes, whether they're even or odd. And I think that would be a tough lineup for Europe to sweep. I think the Ryder Cup is going to be nip and tuck. It's going to be right there as you go through this. I think it's literally could come down to even a tie. I really think it's that close. But the U.S., you put those 4 out, I think first, I think that's going to be probably 2-2 split going into the afternoon 4-balls.
Very interesting. Morikawa and Henley, they, of course, were the protagonists at the Arnold Palmer Invitational when Henley just clipped Collin Morikawa at the tape. So those are some of your groups. But we also have these 4 rookies on the team. What do you think are some of the potential combinations for the new players? And critical, I imagine, to get them going and get them going early.
You do. I mean, and I don't know how many. I only think maybe one would play in that Friday morning foursomes, but in the 4-balls for sure. You look at a couple of pairings and who to possibly pair them with. You got to get these guys and again, Scotty. Heck, Damon, you could pair me with Scotty Scheffler in 4-ball, and we're going to do just fine. We can at least get a half a point, I think.